I saw the curtains flap. Everything went quiet. Impossibly even more quiet than pre-fart. It still amazes me that no one laughed, but I think the adage, "There but for the grace of God go I," was paramount. A muffled, "Excuse me," surfaced through the crack. I think I should rephrase that. Okay. A tiny voice whimpered, "Excuse me," through the spot between the curtains where there was a gap. Letchy bloke couldn't resist and answered, "Better out than in, love." I bet that made her feel like a princess, and as I turned to him to deliver a look of disgust, he grinned at me and nodded his head. "I wouldn't like to be the one that goes in after her." Twat. Didn't he understand that getting your kit off and walking past morons like him was bad enough without the added sound effects? Honestly, I was going to put him in his place, but just as I opened my mouth, the curtain was drawn back tentatively, and a very red face appeared. I could tell he was going to say something else, so I did the only thing I could think of. I stretched. You heard me right, stretched. And even though the pain in my shoulder stung like a bitch, it saved the day. All his focus was on my breasts, and this gave Mrs. Simpson the opportunity to slip away and down the corridor, clutching her clothes in her arms. That was another thing. Once the poor saps had struggled out of their clothes and scurried off down the passage, they weren't seen again. Was there a huge hole down the corridor? One big enough to swallow you whole and save the NHS money on X-rays? Did they flog your clothes after, and that's why they wanted you to get undressed? Crap. I was formulating my own conspiracy theory, and I didn't like what my brain was trying to conjure. As if it wasn't bad enough that I had to be there in the first place. Are you wondering that yourself? Why I was there? Or don't you give a shit? I bet you wanted to read this story on the off chance that it included Rudy scenes or the declaration of true love, didn't you? Well, give me a minute. I am just about to tell you about the events that changed my perception of love. And maybe a little bit more than that. So hang on a tad longer, and let me get this out. Chapter 2. 3 weeks earlier. Time does shift in funny ways, especially when you have the power to flit from one scene to another, maybe even shift from one place, or planet. But if you are expecting sci-fi, I'm sorry. Although the events later on in my tale I would classify as out of this world. And not just because I had taken too much medication either. Okay, 3 weeks earlier. What did I do? Did I hurt my shoulder and neck by performing some heroic deed? Land badly when I jumped in front of a moving car to stop a small child from being mowed down? Lift a heavy object off a trapped woman, or man, child, dog? Stop a fight? Step into the shoes of an airline pilot and land a plane full of terrified passengers? I wish I could say yes to any of the above, but it has to be a no, I'm afraid. Here goes. Just remember one thing before you take the piss. It hurt, okay? They always say hard work can't kill you, and part of me still believes that to this day. But it can hurt like buggery, though, as I found out. Now, you are thinking I have a strenuous job. Well, I do, but most people wouldn't think so. I teach. Teenagers, to be exact. And no, I wasn't in the midst of a cat fight or stopping an intruder from entering the school. In fact, I wasn't even at work at the time. I was at home. Home. The place where most accidents happen. But it was work-related, so the waffling I have done does actually key in somewhere along the line. We had just gotten back from the Christmas vacation. 2 weeks of doing nothing. No planning, no marking, nothing. And if you teach or know a teacher, then you also know being idle over a holiday is not the wisest of plans.